Alright, so I just wanted to make this quick video. Good morning, it's Smitty. How you doing, loves? I actually was recording a video a second ago, but I accidentally hit the stop button, and knowing I don't like to edit, I'm just gonna re-record. I hate men who have like high standards for women, despite knowing that they're like pieces of shit, and then even go out of their way to either one, go for women they don't actually like, and then just treat her like shit and mold her into like their ideal perfect woman, despite knowing she will never be, just so they can get what they want. That just kind of feeds into the whole Madonna whore complex of things, where it's like, oh, here's my wife who I love so much, even though she's mid and not that attractive, she's cute enough while I have kids with her. She seems like a good parent and mother. Yeah, she can have my kids. I'm gonna go ahead and fuck like Tiffany, Stacy, Linda, Belinda, like Casey, Macy, every single fucking girl I can get my hands on. Like, I'm gonna fuck every single woman who even fucking looks at me, or even I'm not attracted to, just because she will give me the time of day. And then I'll go back to my wife, who I love, because she's not those other whores. Fuck those whores, even though I see the whores 24/7. Like, I don't like dudes to do that. But let me not get too off topic. Long story short, I hate like abusive situations where it's just like they try to like sick women against each other, or like do mind games to try and like make a woman feel like she's unworthy. They'll do it with women they aren't attracted to. They'll go out of their way to seek those women, make them feel on top of the world, then treat them like shit. Or they'll go for women who they know are like 10 times or even a million times over better than them, put on a facade, and then start trying to leech in little shit to make the woman feel either inferior or like gaslight her and treat her like shit. I'm very lucky to grow up in the generation where you hear words like gaslight, manipulation, and abuse, love bombing, and all that shit like a million times over every single fucking day since ninth grade. I'm very grateful for that because it means I can spot that shit, and it was good. I'm glad I learned it. Like, anyone who managed to be around me before got fucking lucky. Because then, I would deal with stupid ass hypocrite niggas who were hairy all over telling me that I needed to shave my fucking pussy and underarms and body for them. Meanwhile, if I were asked them, hey, can you like shave your nut, like your pubic hair because it smells and also it makes it uncomfortable and I don't really want to be working in an area without that, then they'll be like, no, I'm not going to do it. It makes me uncomfortable. But you got to do it though, because they'd rather you be the uncomfortable one. And then after him, it's, oh yeah. After him and then one more ex, for the most part, it was like, yeah, I'm not gonna change myself for a lot of these niggas. I remember once I got so mad when I was seeing a guy, and I just told him, I was thinking about dyeing my hair turquoise because I saw this model who was like African or British or something named Miani, and she had this beautiful like turquoise hair that was just flowing down her shoulders. She looked like a sexy version of Hatsune Miku, and I was like, oh, she looks amazing. I want to look just like her. And we had the same skin color at the time. Just for him to think, oh, well, turquoise is my favorite color. She must be doing this just to get my attention. So he goes out of his way to be like, you should dye it red instead. Like that girl from Persona 5. And let me tell you, this nigga was obsessed with fucking Persona 5. Specific, or was it Persona 4? I forget. Specifically because there was a flat chested, red haired chick in the game who he thought was so cute. And despite, look at me. I've said it in another video, but I'll say it again. I like to think it's obvious that I am not a very white slash Asian, very pale, flat chest. No, the boobs are here. You can't gaslight me. The boobs are there. I'm not flat chested. I don't have long red hair down my back. I don't have glasses. But this nigga would always go out of his way to be like, ooh, can you wear the fake glasses when you see me today for the date? It would be so hot. Or trying to convince me, oh, you should dye your hair red instead, like that girl from Persona 5. It would be cute on you. It would look sexy. And then he would even go out of his way to tell me that, oh, yeah, I prefer girls with like bigger boobs, or I prefer white girls or Asian girls. But, you were just different. I saw something new. You had like a spark. Yeah, you can be sexually attracted to someone who's not in your type, but it's weird to try to force or like try to make them like, sir, if you want a black girl with mommy milkers and a knockoff British accent and a whole lot of sass, then you can come to me. If you want that girl from Persona 5, you go on Etsy or Redbubble like a normal person. You get a fucking body pillow. You put on one of those ASMR like sex moan headsets, a pocket pussy, and a bunch of hot oil, and you just do what you gotta do to make it feel like she's the real thing. You're not gonna get that shit with me. Fuck that nigga. Devin Ang in Oakland, if you ever see this video, go fuck yourself. Moving on though. I've also dated dudes. Let's see, I've dated multiple dudes who also were like 29 or whatever. And if you're not wondering to me, why would you do that? Because, let's see, even as a young girl, or like, right when I turned 18, I was like, yes! I can fuck whoever I want legally now, and it won't be weird, and it won't be pedophilic. Sadly, it still would be, as I later learned, but it just meant I could have fun and finally bang people who I thought were attractive for years. One of those people I knew in, like, the film community in my city, and they were pretty okay, like, cinematographer dude, kind of nice, but, and I'll be honest, a lot of weird shit happened with him, but I don't want to get into his whole, like, let me think if I can rephrase it short. I guess to sum up my relationship with him, like, I said something out of pocket to him, and then he was like, fuck you. Our relationship was built on a lie anyway. I just wanted you to for consistent sex. And I was like, no shit, idiot. One, I'm 18. Two, it's like I met you at the start of summer. It's hot girl summer. And I fucked you on the very first date, despite it being an awful date. I don't know what part of that gave off the vibe of I really want a relationship. No, I was trying to suck your dick, and that's the extent of it. But then you were like, "Oh, let's go to brunch and shit." You're so cool. Like, sir, if you just want a consistent sex, you should have just said it. And then he felt like an idiot. He was like, "Oh, okay, my bad." And then yeah, sometimes you don't have to do stupid manipulation, mind game tricks. You could just be like, "Hey, girl, this date didn't go well, and thanks for the sex, but you want to keep having sex? I'll buy you food." And it's like that would have worked perfectly fine. But moving on, the very first time we hooked up after that first date, I remember laying in bed with him, and then he was just like stroking my body. And then once he got to like my arms, he was like, "Ah, I see. You have arm hair. That's cool. I don't really like arm hair on women though." And it's like, my response was just as simple as, since I thought, oh, we're talking about what we like in women, he's gonna be fine with what I say. So I said, "Oh, really? Yeah, that's cool. I guess that's your preference. Me, I don't know. I just like any type of women. Like, I like hairy women. I like muscular women. I like the tall ones. I like the really thin ones. I like the ones who are kind of chunky and built. I just, they're just really sexy to me. Honestly, I could be around a woman like no matter what. If anything, if I was with a woman and she was just like everything I wanted but hairy, I would just be glad that I had her in the first place. Like, because it's like, I should just be happy I'm around her. And then, like, I was just saying that off the top of dome because I was like thinking, oh yeah, we're talking about what we like in women. Like, yeah. It's like, I was just letting them know. And then I just casually, like, once I was getting to the ends of my little daydream rant, I was just telling him, like, plus, it helps them stay cool and like warm and stuff. So, I don't want to get too cold, like, if I ever lose arm. I was just basically saying, like, yeah, they need to be warm too. They, like, it's cold as hell being skinny. I looked over at him and he's just glaring at me like, hmm. And then he just is like, right, okay. And then he never brings it up again. As he shouldn't have brought it up in the first fucking place. Because it's like, dude, you are 29, living with like hella roommates in a small ass apartment with a cinematographer job that doesn't pay well, and you managed to somehow bang a 19. Or how old was I at the time? 18, 19? You managed to bang a very young woman who just wanted to bang you because you were tall and skinny. Congratulations. Like, don't push your luck any farther than you already had. You already hit the jackpot, dude. And then this other guy, his name was Blaze, or Christopher Rogers. He lives in San Jose. He's a cunt. For a lot of reasons, but this video will only, like, be the tip of the iceberg. In a nutshell, he was, like, 29, and I got with him when I was, like, 19 at the time. And honestly, I saw him and I was like, oh, this guy seems cool. He's a great artist. He's pretty funny. No one in the other, like, we were in a Discord together, and I was like, no one else in this Discord seems to like him. Or like they're like, oh, we're not really friends, but he's cool, and they'll be kind of sus about him. If only I took those fucking red flags, or orange flags is what they were. But honestly, it was just like, I could still hang with this dude. I want some company anyway. Moving on, we eventually started a relationship, and he was obsessed with me, or at least gave off the vibe of it, like buying me constant shit, never not like talking about me, all this like basically love bombing. Like, in under 2 months he was basically talking about marriage and shit, and it's like, it was one of those things where it's like, he doesn't know shit about me. Like, does he know my favorite flower? I think he did. Yeah, he did. But it's like, under 2 months he was like, oh yeah, I want to get married and have 5 kids. If anything, the only reason I'm working to me is so I can work to have a future with you. Which is all fine and dandy. And frankly, at the time, like, since I was in an abusive household and looking for any reason to escape, to just, like, get the fuck out, I probably would have taken it. I'm like, okay, this dude's making solid money and wants to, like, take care of me, and, like, I could just not work and shit. That works. That would have been cool if he was not obsessed with his fucking ex-best friend. And I say ex-best friend since I can't say girlfriend. It's more of just like a woman who he paid for sex repeatedly, who only came around when she wanted like money, who he just deluded himself into thinking actually liked him. She even went out of her way to message me telling me that she thought he was creepy and weird, and that him messaging her like as we were dating made her uncomfortable. He was basically the type that could like talk to himself in her messages for 6 months and just see nothing wrong with that. And then even when shown the messages where I'm like, hey, she thinks you're really weird and that she doesn't want to talk to you, he actually went on this full fucking rant saying, oh, what? She just thinks I'm strange, huh? Well, it's not like I'm normal, huh? She just respects me enough to recognize that I'm weird. You can like someone and think they're weird to me, and don't be so superficial. And he went on this amazingly psychotic rant, basically just being in denial that this chick who is at face value, making it obvious 24/7 that she's not interested in him, really isn't. But let me not get too off topic because this video is long enough. He had a thing for skinny chicks. And I'll say it, I am a skinny chick. I am. I'm lots of skin and bones with the occasional meat in the boobies and a little bit in the backside. I'm skinny as fuck. But he liked the even skinnier chick. He liked them Riley Reid bitches. And if that's his type, cool. But like I said, if you want a skinny white girl who will just go get one. You don't have to come for this. Go get who you want. Stop settling. It's weird. And if you're gonna settle, at least be like, okay. Like, hey, I couldn't get that, like, idealized, super pale, super skinny, super weird. His standards were actually super fucking creepy, let me tell you that. Like, describing that sounds like a 13-year-old. Moving on. If he wants that, he can get it. But if you're gonna be like, ooh, but Tamia is hot and attractive, you better recognize I'm hot and attractive. You don't go out of your way to nag me like, oh, well, and then he'd do this weird shit. Like, we could be in a Target or something, and then he could see like a girl like who's amazingly skinny, and also I will admit she looked like she was suffering from an eating disorder. But his first thought was to turn around, stare her down, and then just be like, oh, I wonder how my dick could fit in that. Just like, ooh, my dick would fit amazingly in that. Oh, how would it look? He had a massive penis. I'll just say that he had a baseball bat dick. So if you're wondering, this guy did talk about his penis a lot. And I'm also a pervert, so I didn't flinch too hard. Plus, whenever he did shit like that, I just be like, haha, that's cool, baby. Anyway, can you give me this whole rack of jewelry? And then he'd buy me like $600 worth of jewelry at Target. So it's like, It's like some things I ignored for the sake of, he's a fucking idiot. Whatever, honey. Yeah, that's great, sweetie. Buy me this, buy me this, buy me that. And then I just move on. But he always found a way to try and like, I even would tell him, dude, if you want to date me, that's cool. Just don't be weird about it. Communicate what you want, and I'll communicate what I like. And then just like, if you want someone else, that's cool. You can go for them. Don't be weird and don't settle for me on some strange shit. He'd be in denial. I'm trying to think of like some specific moments, but in a nutshell, he did exactly what that one ex did. He basically would not stop talking about his type, would always like insist on like watching porn next to me and downloading like fucking 30 tabs worth of files over and over again, all of them being like skinny bitch anal porn. And it's like, okay, cool. You like that Eurocentric standard bullshit. Can you keep it out of my sight? Or he'd do little weird negging shit. Like, like let's say I was getting changed in front of him. He'd go out of his way to be like, you know what? Your boobs are kind of lopsided. And then I looked at him and without flinching, I was like, yeah, all boobs are lopsided. Like, it's always said that it's like, I forget which one it is, the left or the right, but one's always going to be bigger than the other. Just slightly, though. And then he was like, yeah, but yours are just, I mean, like, wow, though. And he was like, let me just say, it was very obvious what he was doing. He was not winning anybody over with his, like, performance. He was not winning any Oscars, any Grammys, none of that shit. It was pathetic. And I could tell I was also at an angle while changing, too. So, of course, it's like, he's gonna say this boob's bigger when I'm, like, doing a stretch like this as I'm putting on a shirt. But either way, I just said, yeah, and you're lucky to have them. So, and then that's when his smile, like, dropped from his face instantly. What a fucking pathetic loser he was. And also, I remember, well, I won't say the full remark, but he also did the same thing about my genitalia. And let's just say, you cannot body shame how a woman looks in her vagina area when you had one of your fucking balls, like, attached to your foot in utero and then simply never drops. And then, let's just say, all I had to say was, fuck you, lopsided low hanging fruit. And he understood what that meant instantly, because his balls were like one up here, one down here. Like, you can't really be like, oh, your pussy's low, because that doesn't make it. He doesn't get pussy, so how would he know? He has to pay for the one he actually had access to. And your genitalia is more fucked up than anything. You can't make me feel bad. So that's all I gotta say. Anyway, so it just annoyed the fuck out of me. It's like, cool, this guy's extremely lucky to have me, but trying to go out of his way to do stupid negging bullshit that is easy to see through because he wasn't an amazing actor or like, just he's you can kind of tell when an idiot's being manipulative and trying to do little bit shit because they just hilariously fail. Which brings me to my final tale, and I'll keep this one as brief as possible. Another 29-year-old I was with when I was like 18. This one, oh, he was obvious from the fucking jump, let me tell you. What was that guy's name? He went by Sam, but his real name was Lee because people are racist. He was Korean or whatever. Yeah, he was Korean, yeah. If I recall correctly. His bitch ass. I remember we were talking on Reddit, and in a nutshell, like, I was just looking for, like, normal friendships online. Or was it sex? I forget. One of the others, like, friendship or sex. And then he messaged me like, hey, I'm just looking for platonic friendship. But I just gotta wonder, why are you out here degrading yourself looking for sexual partners on the internet? Don't you want better for yourself? Don't you wish, like, like, where's your father at? Do you have daddy issues? Because I could really be the mentor you need. I could be the one that could really help you out of your shitty situation and just, like, improve your life. And just, like, a whole bunch of shit basically saying, hey, like, basically passive aggressively condescendingly giving the vibe of, hey, you dumb bitch, like, you're slutting yourself out and you should be ashamed. So you need a real man like me to make you feel like you don't need to have sex. And he was trying to be like, you need some hobbies. You need some hobbies to, like, put all your sexual, like, pent up energy into. And it's like, no, I'm an 18-year-old who just wants cock and I'm not in college. So I couldn't really have access to, like, the cock, like, easily. Or at least, like, not unless I use the internet. It's not even that deep. Sometimes people just want to fuck, dude. But either way, in the middle of one of his, like, rants, where he was just, like, being super condescending and rude and shit, I just asked him, do you want to fuck? And he was like, what? And I said, do you want to fuck? Like, tomorrow? And he was like, sure. And then we just hooked up. And the hookup was mid. Like, the sex was good. The hangout with him entirely was basically, I'll just say a few things and it'll just sum up his personality. Rude, slack jawed, no eye contact, always low hanging eyes, like the type, like, you could tell the difference between someone, like, bothering to make eye contact with you and then purposely, like, looking like they're exhausted all the time. And uh, low hygiene, yeah. The sex was great, though, I will say that. But it was not great enough where I'd want to do it again. So it was like, it was so funny. Like, the next morning after, as we were hanging out, and I was talking to him about, like, how 9/11 was. I was talking to him about how it was like to experience 9/11 because he was in, like, what, 8th grade or something when that happened? I don't fucking know. And then we were just talking, and as he was talking about, like, oh yeah, they, like, the teacher just, like, stopped us in the middle of PE class and rolled in the TV and made us, like, watch the newscast, and everyone was crying and terrified and shit. And that was like, and meanwhile I was just, like, barely a year old, so I didn't give a fuck. As he was telling me that story, I was just zoned out thinking, yeah, this sex was cool. I'm probably never gonna see this guy again, and that's okay. Wow, it's gonna be my first successful one night stand where I have, like, no attachments to the dude. This all goes well. This is solid. I probably won't need to have sex for another 3 months just because of this, like, interaction alone. Just for him to, like, later on be like, ooh, wait, before you go, let me take you out for a cannoli. I bet you've never had a man buy you something before, huh? And then trying to, like, we walked down to the fucking Little Italy part of, like, or Little Italy Japantown cross section where they sell, like, cannolis and desserts and shit. And as he bought me, like, one single fucking overpriced cannoli, not even that good, by the way, he was like, yeah, I bet you've never had a real man do that for you. Yeah, you really need a mentor. You really need someone like me, Like, I know you've probably never had like a good upbringing and a father at home. He kept saying he knew I didn't have a father at home. And that's funny. Because it's like, okay, I never told him that. So you're either one, a fucking racist, or two, you assume just any woman who's young and wants to have sex doesn't have a father. There are dads at home, like, just as prominent as there is libido in women, dude. What the fuck is wrong with you? But was he right? And moving on. Moving on. But he was entirely wrong about the whole needing male validation thing. If anything, not having a father or like needing men around has actually kind of proven the opposite of like, oh yes, I really don't need a dude for much. I can just be independent and have sex and toss them out like trash afterwards and go back about my life. And I was just thinking, this guy is so pathetic and obvious about what he's doing, but fuck it, I'm bored and need some entertainment. Let's go on a date. It gives me a reason to be dressed up and out of the house. Fuck it. And he'll buy for my food. I mean, pay for my food. And then, long story short, the date was stupid. He kept doing stupid date tactics. Like, he did this thing, like, he would not stop talking about the, yeah, I bought your burger. I bet you've never had a man do that for you. I know, you really need, like, a mentor like me in your life to show you, like, right from wrong and set you on the right path. No, I don't! You, like, and it was so funny, because it's coming from, like, a 29-year-old who sold his soul to the fucking military, fought in, like, God knows whatever they did in the Middle East. Well, not even fought. He just did tech bullshit in the helicopters or whatever. And then secured himself to be like, what? Now you're living in like a shitty fucking apartment, community housing, like for an art degree. And aside from that, what is it? Yeah, his house didn't even have a fucking shower in it. He had a community shower. He did not have a bathroom in his own house. Like, it's not like cool. Like, what could I want from you? You are 29 with like a mini fridge full of like eggs and ramen and a microwave that hardly works and a twin bed and nothing else in that fucking room. And you're trying to act like you can teach me shit? Like, and I'm gonna say this, like, I mean, my house is, I have a lot more in my, don't look at my floor, I have a lot more in my house, and I'm like 7 years, or like, well, okay, years have passed, but it's like, yeah, I'm 22, almost. And I got this shit pretty well done. And that's the best he could do at his big age. Don't try to condescend me, nigga. But moving on. On the date, he did the specific tactic, which I'm going to talk about in another video. He basically wanted to assert dominance by shouting over me in conversation, even when he had nothing to say at all. Like, so what would happen was, it could be like, oh, hey, so where did you go to school? And then I could be asking a question and he just cut in with like immediately shouting like, so where did you go to school? And I, like, before I can even answer, he always thought for some reason it would make him look cool, like he would be leading the conversation if he did that. So even if he asked me a question while shouting over me, he would instantly cut me off before I could even get like one syllable in and just be like, so yeah, I went to school in Kentucky, Minnesota, blah blah blah, and then just keep shouting just for like mid-sentence he'd go from shouting to like really trailing off. So it's like, yeah, I went to Kentucky high school, and we the team slogan was, and that's kind of just all he did. That's how every fucking conversation went until it eventually got to us being in total silence. And I made it a mental game to see how many times can this guy physically find something to like interrupt me for or shout over me in conversation, then trail off without me even saying a single fucking syllable. So I would just like, he'd say something almost normal and then totally fuck it up. Like, he'd be like, so do you like, oh, and he chewed with his mouth open. He was a slack-jawed fuck with no manners. He was like, so and he stared at the little ketchup on the table and he was like, do you like ketchup? Or, and I went, and all I did was go, and then he instantly just went, because I really like ketchup. Ketchup is my favorite food. I think ketchup is just really, it's like, and then he just trail off and stare at the table. And he did that so many times that eventually at the end of the date, two funny things happened. At the end of the date, I told him, let me pause for a sec. I told his bitch ass, you do know that you do have to like let people get a word in edgewise, and that you've been like talking over me the entire day and haven't learned a single thing about me. You do know you have to let people talk on dates, right? And then he didn't know what to do. He just froze up before he just, with his mouth full of like shitty deer meat from his fucking shitty Fuddruckers burger, he just started guffawing hella hard, laughing at the top of his mouth. I mean, laughing at the top of his lungs, food hanging out his mouth, just clawing at his food on his plate like a fucking Neanderthal. And I thought, yeah, this guy's pathetic as fuck. I want nothing to do with him after this. And then I remember, just to like communicate to him how I absolutely was just like already not into him. He did so much shit even after this, but I want to keep this video brief and not spoil everything. I'll tell you later. I basically just said something along the lines of, hey, so you do know how people like in relationships, they want to be monogamous, right? But like, you know, like, well, I have this unique thing where if I'm dating someone and we don't have a label, then I don't really, it wouldn't be right to just be with like one single person if we're not a couple, you know? And then he was like, well, and then he instantly got condescending and was like, that's not fucking dating to me. That's just, that's not being in a relationship to me. That's just dating while single, duh. And I was like, okay, cool. Just letting you know, that's how I will do it. And he's like, what? And I said, yeah. So if you don't want to be in a relationship with me or like cuff me or whatever, then we should probably just like, I'm probably going to be seeing other people and going on dates with them. And then he instantly just let you like, to be a full hypocrite to what he said 10 seconds before, yelled, so you mean to tell me that if I don't get in a relationship with you, you're just gonna date other people? Like at the top of his lungs, yelling in the restaurant. And I just look at him and I'm like, yes, exactly, you get it. And then he just got so offended, he started scoffing and shit. And it's like, oh, so you're gonna 1 second condescend to me that what I described is normal. And then you're gonna try to twist it and say it's not normal because you don't want me to have any other options but you fucking like almost 30-year-old sad sack. Pathetic. Moving on. Eventually, the date ended, and a few days later, I fucked my fallback guy, Marco. Also a pathetic loser, I knew, but it was like, I just wanted to, like, rent, like, I thought I need to get the bad taste of Sam/Lee out of my mind and mouth, and just, at least with Marco, he's an idiot, but at least he's like an idiot who I know to expect is stupid. So, it's like, yeah, I can play a little Kirby with this guy, then have, like, missionary sex, and it's like, okay. Now I feel like I've got my mojo back after all that rank energy just from like one single bad date. I'm back to being me. And then I basically remember telling Sam, like when he tried to be all, oh yeah, so our date went pretty nicely, yeah. There are some things about you that I feel like you need to work on, but frankly, I could really see things working out. So yes, I do want to date you, Tamia. And I told him, yeah, I don't want to date you though. I'm not interested. He instantly pulled the, yeah, you're right. I wouldn't want to date a fucking slut like you anyway. And then I just said, yeah, you're right. Because I fucked, like, my best friend Marco. Like, a day after our date. And then he instantly started, like, spamming my phone, blowing it up with messages constantly. Telling me all about how, and he told me all about how all his other girlfriends, who were also the same age as me, he consistently told me that he dated nothing but 18-year-olds. And how every single one of them cheated on him. No shit. I see why. And then just basically went on raging and raging and raging. And crying in hysterics, saying I'm just like every other bitch, and saying he was heartbroken by me and that he still wants me, but he hates me and loathes me now, and a whole bunch of crazy shit. Long story short, I dodged a. I didn't dodge a bullet. I dodged a fucking C4, because what the fuck was that nigga on? Anyway, yeah, I just figured I'm gonna tell people about pathetic men I've dated, because why not? Yeah, that guy was a fucking clown. Anyway, I think that's all I gotta say, so talk to you later. And this video is at 29 minutes. Nice. Love you. Peace out.